When we have characters who are playing the moon, we often see what I like to call the splitting of the moon, whereas these titans or giants, or even other disciples of the dark side of the moon, are shown to be ripping apart or attempting to rip apart their enemies. One thing you'll see a lot is the arrival of a titan or the supermoon will also be associated with the ripping apart of the full moon, even if it's symbolic. And you'll see that Leo the Lion characters or the sun-based characters are often resistant to this ripping apart, but then you also will see the inversion, whereas Titan or supermoon-based characters are given the attributes of the sun in their outfits and attire, where they're challenging or versus moon-based characters, and you'll see the ripping apart going that way.
This idea is easy to present in Titan and Giant stories, as Titans and Giants encode the supermoon, but this is also seen in other stories, as there are many different types of moons. One type of story that you'll see this commonly in is in blood moon stories, like vampire stories and werewolves and so forth. Consider the idea of the honeymoon, which is associated with the weddings, with marriage, and the idea of being honest for the honeymoon.
Nope.
Or being monogamous. When that is broken, when the monogamy is broken, the marriage is challenged, divorce results, but money, moony.
There's also this reoccurring theme of the heart and the moon being connected. We get the word hormones from the hour of the moon and all the necromancing or romancing that occurs under the moon. This is why a broken heart is also associated with broken monogamy or the ending of the relationship. And this is why Kevin Hart and the Waning Rock Johnson, which is a play on the idea of the moon, are both closely related as friends in a lot of pictures. So when you see stories that have this slicing or ripping in half of characters and or things, you should be questioning which character in that scene represents the sun and or the moon. And if there are two characters that represent the moon, you should be questioning which moons they represent. All throughout that scene and prior to that scene, you will likely see references to the moon. And also the characters who are playing or the actors who are playing these characters might have a name that is moon-based, letting you know that this is much more deeper level storytelling than what's on the surface level. As we even see this splitting of half happening in the inverted universes or the dream worlds or the multiverses, as some would say in some different stories. Another thing you'll notice in these stories are the use of axes, in which the giant or the titan or the character playing the supermoon might have an axe, or the axe may be the weapon of choice to take down the supermoon. And this goes back to a lot of old traditional stories and myths where dwarfs or Vikings or those that battled giants would use axes, and also the giants would use axes themselves. And this goes from the idea of chopping down a super tall tree under the supermoon, or Jack and the Beanstalk type idea. And besides the physical splitting of characters, we also get the emotional or spiritual splitting of characters, as seen in the example of the Hulk earlier, where his encounter with the supermoon Thanos split him into his human form only. And this idea of having two sides, where you have the dark side, the light side of a character, is also a play on that idea. And consider the idea of a superhero, with the word super coming from the idea of a supermoon, where this character has an alter ego, and the altar is the place where we go to for our spirituality, and the ego is the other part of your identity. The sun we don't see idea, where you have the dark phoenix and the light phoenix, or the me, or a mini-me.